continue to stand up for the city of Boston. Boston does not back down to bullies. Boston does not back down in the face of threats.
Boston Mayor Michelle Wu firing back at the Trump administration after a direct letter from the head of the Department of Justice, claiming that Boston's status as a sanctuary city has undermined this necessary cooperation and obstructed federal immigration enforcement.
Everyone in our community also has a role to play in keeping each other safe.
Democrat colleagues believe that the federal government has sole authority over every aspect of Americans' lives. They seem to forget, or intentionally forget, that the federal government is constrained by the 18 enumerated powers outlined in Article 1 of the Constitution, and that the 10th Amendment further constrains the federal government by saying, and I quote, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people." And to quote Wikipedia, that I don't do very often here, but the 10th Amendment was ratified on December 15th, 1791. It expresses the principle of federalism, whereby the federal government and the individual states share power by mutual agreement.
First, at 10 tonight, the Trump administration is cracking down on sanctuary cities and states. That includes Portland as well as Oregon and Washington.
Trump continues to exert his authority over the nation's capital, with hundreds of National Guard troops still fanned out across the city. As the Associated Press writes, the police takeover is the latest move by Trump to test the limits of his legal authorities to carry out his agenda, relying on obscure statutes and a supposed state of emergency to bolster his tough on crime message and his plans to speed up the mass deportation of people in the United States illegally.
People who follow, pay attention to policing a lot and write articles and things about it, is that they should feel like a part of the community, right? What we're seeing, when I go on 14th Street nearby where I live, what I see is it looks like, oh, we're under siege, right? That's what it looks like and feels like to folks. And what's so interesting about this is DC, and this is according to WTOP, is still waiting for Congress to restore $1 billion with the B in funding during their crime crackdown.
Ramping up pressure this week, threatening to slash grants and contracts to places that refuse to cooperate on immigration. Since 1987, Oregon's sanctuary law has blocked local police from helping enforce federal immigration policies. 30 years later, Portland officially adopted its own sanctuary city status in March 2017. But on Friday, Attorney General Pam Bondi sent letters to several states, including the governors of Oregon and Washington, stating in part, quote, "You are hereby notified your jurisdiction engages in sanctuary practices that thwart federal immigration enforcement. This ends now." We've learned federal agencies are aggressively asking local police to help with that enforcement. According to a Criminal Justice Commission report released last month, Oregon law enforcement faced a staggering 265% jump in federal immigration requests from June 2024 to May of this year. Meanwhile, activists are calling on city leaders to cancel Portland's ICE contract over concerns it violates sanctuary policies.
It's no coincidence, though, that these are cities that have large populations of black and brown people. These are cities, all of these cities, where the crime rates are going down.
I think they'd be much better off saying, we want to help President Trump with the crime because it's an epidemic, it's a tragic situation, it's the worst it's ever been, and we want to help President Trump with the crime, as opposed to, he's a dictator, he's a dictator. People are so happy to see our military going into D.C. and getting these thugs out.
Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress are directly responsible for withholding the $1 billion that D.C. has a right to. With that $1 billion, you can hire more law enforcement. You can also support families with housing security and food security and education and job programs.
If I may, the mother of a 15-year-old California boy who was briefly detained at gunpoint in the case of mistaken identity. The LAUSD superintendent says that surveillance video shows armed agents wearing police and border patrol insignia. Given the National Guard, the Border Control, ICE agents, they're not trained in local policing. What specific steps are you taking to ensure that young people are not put in harm's way with these types of operations?
Yeah, what they are trained in is common sense, and they're very tough people. and they have great common sense.
Well, violent crime is actually down. I mean, there's been a spike in some crimes. You know, bribery of public officials with luxury airplanes, that's way up. But other than that, crime is actually decreasing. Now, any violent crime is one too many. Nobody wants a single carjacking or, God forbid, a homicide. But the best solutions are community-based solutions. D.C. has a unique system where the federal government controls the judiciary, the federal government controls the prosecutors, and to the extent that there are problems, that's where they've been, not with our local police force that's been doing a good job of making arrests, of making people feel safe, and being partners with a community that wants to have them protect and serve us, not intimidate, not harass us.
Police raids ramping up throughout the state since President Trump took office. The letter from the DOJ threatened federal funding and the possible filing of civil suits if Boston does not comply.
Be strategic. Let's go into those communities with people who are from those communities to help with the issue of violent crime. But the president's not serious. He wants to be a dictator. He likes seeing military personnel on the streets of D.C. because it makes him feel powerful because he's actually a small person.